Winter, 1944. The Italian campaign ground to a halt. The Allies, having landed in the south, pushed northward with hopes of liberating Rome. But their path was barred by the Gustav Line, a chain of German defenses carved into mountains, valleys, and rivers. At its heart rose Monte Cassino, crowned by a 1,000-year-old Benedictine monastery. The monastery loomed like a sentinel. From its heights, one could see the Liri Valley, the only real corridor to Rome, stretching out like a road of fate. Whoever held Cassino controlled the gates of the Eternal City. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, commander of German forces in Italy, knew this well. He ordered the elite Fallschirmjäger paratroopers to transform the mountain into a fortress. Every crag became a strong point. Machine guns peered from caves, artillery was hidden in ravines, and the mountain itself became a weapon. German observers could spot Allied movements from miles away, calling fire with deadly precision. January 1944, the Allies struck with fury. American divisions attempted to cross the icy Rapido River at night. Under blinding flares, machine guns opened fire, artillery shells churned the water, soldiers drowned, tangled in barbed wire, or were cut down in the current. Survivors called it a river of death. For days, the survivors clung to the far bank, only to be annihilated in counterattacks. Entire regiments were destroyed. Veterans compared the slaughter to the bloodiest days of the First World War. Again and again, the Allies tried to storm Cassino, and again, the mountain spat them back down in ruins. Each assault ended in fire and screams, leaving slopes carpeted with broken bodies. The ancient monastery remained untouched above the carnage. Allied commanders grew suspicious. Was it being used by the Germans as an observation post? Civilians whispered that no soldiers occupied it, but from below, who could tell? Frustration boiled over. On February 15th, the Allies made a fateful decision. Hundreds of bombers, B-17s, B-25s, B-26, filled the skies. The monastery, a symbol of European heritage, vanished beneath waves of explosives. Stone walls that had stood for 1,000 years crumbled in minutes. Towers fell in clouds of dust. Frescoes and manuscripts turned to ash. But the decision backfired catastrophically. The Germans had not occupied the monastery before the bombing, but afterward they rushed in. The ruins provided perfect cover, walls thick as bunkers, shattered stone forming strong points. The Fallschirmjäger, masters of defense, turned Monte Cassino into an impregnable fortress. For the Allies, the nightmare deepened. Each attempt to climb the rubble-strewn slopes meant charging into machine gun nests hidden in the ruins. The monastery became a citadel of death. Nationalities from across the world bled on Cassino's slopes. New Zealanders stormed the town below, fighting through shattered streets where every house was a fortress. Indian divisions attacked the slopes, climbing under fire, their turbans bright against the snow. Americans bled at the Rapido. British regiments hurled themselves at hill after hill, and among them, the Gurkhas of Nepal. Small men with curved kukri knives scaled cliffs in the dark, striking terror with sudden raids. Survivors spoke of shadows appearing from nowhere, knives flashing in the night. The mountain swallowed them all. Rain turned the ground to mud. The cold seeped into bones, and artillery thundered day and night. Soldiers wrote of dragging themselves past corpses frozen in grotesque shapes, the dead staring forever toward the monastery. In the valley below, civilians suffered their own ordeal. Entire families lived like moles in caves, hiding from the bombardment. They drank rainwater, ate roots, and prayed as shells burst above. Babies were born underground while the world collapsed above their heads. Monte Cassino became more than a battle. It was a monument to futility, sacrifice, and the sheer stubbornness of men locked in struggle. The Gustav Line seemed unbreakable, and the mountains seemed unconquerable. But the Allies could not turn back. Rome lay beyond, and Rome must be taken. Spring 1944. After 3 failed offensives, Allied commanders prepared for a 4th. This time, they would throw everything into the fire. Artillery roared day and night, pounding German lines with the heaviest bombardment yet. Hills shook, forests splintered, and the very monastery shuddered as shells rained upon it. The ground trembled like an earthquake, yet the Germans held on. The final assault began in May. The Polish II Corps, veterans of Siberian exile and Middle Eastern deserts, were chosen to spearhead the attack. They knew the cost would be terrible, but they marched with songs and prayers on their lips. Survivors later recalled hymns echoing across the valley as they climbed. The Poles advanced under withering fire. Machine guns swept the slopes. Mortars fell like rain. Men slipped on blood-slick rocks, only to rise and push on. Officers waved flags to guide their men through smoke. Priests carried crosses, blessing the fallen as the living charged past. For days they fought hand to hand among the ruins. Every stone was a strong point, every stairwell a grave. Grenades rattled in corridors, bayonets clashed in the dust. The monastery became a labyrinth of blood and rubble. Curious scenes played out in the chaos. Polish soldiers planted flags on shattered walls, only to be cut down minutes later. Gurkhas appeared on cliffs no one thought climbable. German paratroopers swore oaths to fight to the last, defending positions until only silence remained. At last, on May 18th, the struggle ended. A patrol of Polish troops reached the summit. Over the monastery's ruins, they raised their red and white banner. Then they raised a cross, dedicating their victory to God and to the fallen. Monte Cassino was taken. The Gustav Line, the pride of Kesselring, was finally broken. The road to Rome lay open at last, but the cost was horrific. The Allies had suffered more than 55,000 casualties. Survivors carried haunting memories. Soldiers spoke of corpses lining the mountain trails like grim milestones. Others remembered the cries of the dying echoing among ruins, mingling with hymns and prayers. Civilians recalled emerging from caves to find their villages erased from the earth. After the battle, silence fell over Monte Cassino, but it was not peace. The slopes were littered with helmets, rifles, and bodies that no one could bury for weeks. Survivors recalled the smell of death lingering in the valleys long after the guns fell silent. For the Poles who raised their flag, victory was bittersweet. Many had marched from the gulags of Siberia to this mountain, only to fall within sight of the monastery. Yet their comrades swore they would be remembered forever, their blood part of Rome's liberation. When the Allies entered Rome in June 1944, crowds filled the streets with joy, throwing flowers and bread to soldiers. Yet for those who had fought at Cassino, the celebrations felt hollow. They had seen too much. Their triumph was bought with the mountain's agony. To this day, veterans and pilgrims climb the rebuilt monastery. They walk the same trails once soaked in blood, reading the names on the crosses of Polish, Indian, New Zealand, American, and German graves. Cassino is remembered not only as a victory, but as a scar carved into the soul of Europe. Monte Cassino was not just a tactical victory, it was a crucible of endurance. It proved that even the strongest fortress could fall, that stubborn will could break even the hardest stone. Yet it was also a tragedy. A 1,000-year-old monastery lay in ruins. Tens of thousands of lives were gone, and the memory of Cassino remained etched forever in those who climbed its slopes. When Rome fell weeks later, it was bought with the blood spilled on that mountain. For those who fought there, Monte Cassino was unforgettable. The mud, the rain, the endless fire, the hymns of the dying. To this day, the ruins stand as both victory and ruin. The struggle for the Gustav Line, the mountain that swallowed armies, and the monastery that became a monument of war.